Every once in a while, we get architecture that is so good that it makes each and every one of us want to pull out our sketch pads to start sketching our own fun designs. Well, today's not one of those days. I was browsing around on online architecture magazines and I stumbled upon this air control tower designed by Marlon Blackwell Architects from Arkansas. Obviously, the first thing that caught my eye was this weird spaceship looking thing stuck in the ground. I thought this was a reference to that Reddit cookie cutter subreddit, and I'm not talking about architectural cookie cutter. I'm talking about a literal cookie cutter subreddit where people post cookie cutters where they have no idea what it looks like and other people give ideas. So I thought someone had posted a picture of a cookie cutter and someone made an AI building that looked like this. Obviously, I had to click the link, and when I clicked on it, I saw that this is a new design for the Columbus Municipal Airport. Now, I'm looking that the architect's goal was for this tower to become a beacon of Columbus's architectural and design heritage that will mark a key gateway into the city. This just sounds like architectural mumbo jumbo to me. And honestly, that's my biggest problem. I'm not even talking about the aesthetics of this design. I'm solely talking about the fact that they paint these vivid pictures that mean nothing. I mean, if you think about a gateway, what do you think? You don't think about a control tower. People don't even pay attention to those things. But I'm willing to bet they're going to pay attention to this one. But not enough to be considered a gateway into the city. I mean, a bridge can be considered a gateway into the city, but a control tower, I just don't see how that's going to happen. Now, the icing on the cake was when they said that this was inspired by, and I'm going to quote this, the design is inspired by the aerodynamic lines of an aircraft shifting and undulating as one moves around the building. How does that even make any sense? Aircrafts are not designed that way because it looks interesting. It's literally aerodynamics. That means there's mathematics and physics behind the design of the aircraft. Otherwise, it wouldn't fly or it wouldn't fly efficiently. Also, aircrafts are symmetrical, which is a huge part of aerodynamics. So if you're going to at least go against it, please explain why you're going against aerodynamics to design a building that's inspired by aerodynamics. My problem, again, is not so much of aesthetics, because aesthetics is personal. I'm not one to usually say that architecture is bad or architecture is good. I just hate the architectural fluff. I hate that they say that this is inspired by aerodynamics, but it's not. It's obviously not. And if it is, why not lead with that? Why say, hey, we were inspired by aerodynamics and we decided to just ignore it? Like, if you put this building anywhere in the world and you ask people what the heck it was, nobody would say it reminds me of aerodynamics, it reminds me of spacecrafts, it reminds me of an airport. Maybe if you looked at the top of it, you might consider it an air traffic control tower, but beside that, there's nothing else in similarity. Now, it says that it is clad in aluminum, stainless steel, and the tower will act as both a sentinel and beacon for the community. Again, what does this mean? A sentinel and beacon for the community. Apparently, part of the design includes the landscaping in front of it to hold public programming, but if you look at the renderings, there's nothing there that looks like any thought was placed into the landscaping. Again, this could be miscommunication between the rendering and the idea, but if you're going to say something so powerful as being considered a sentinel and beacon for the community, then at least you should explain that with words or in your rendering. You can't just go on and say whatever you want to say it and then just be like, yeah, I know it looks like not what I'm describing, but we promise it is. Now, again, although I don't usually like to talk about aesthetics, unfortunately, aesthetics is like the only thing I can talk about this because the post doesn't really give much other information than what I've got into. And when you look at this thing, it literally looks like a stick figure or a version of a stick figure where you have the head and the body, and you even have two arms. Then you have these vertical fins that make it look like a heat sink. On a side note, what I love about the rendering is that you have all these families here visiting this, like it's like this spaceship that just landed from space and people are throwing what seems to be frisbee in front of it. Like, these renderings are really trying hard to make this look like a communal area where everybody's excited, like they're planning their day around this thing. Like, hey mom, can we go visit that traffic control center? I heard it's going to be amazing. They're going to have a food truck there. It just makes no sense. So I'm not criticizing the architects here. I know it sounds a little bit harsh what I'm saying, but my goal with this is not to point fingers and being like, this is bad architecture. It just really bothers me. And again, I can't put blame on the architects. Maybe it was the person who spoke on behalf of the architect, even though they referenced the architect themselves. But it could also be the way that this magazine worded things. I don't know. But the point is, if you are going to design this building that represents this one thing and the architect the architecture doesn't actually represent the thing that you say it represents, then please show it in other ways. Like they could have provided a graph where they said we generated this form based on an aerodynamic formula and we use Grasshopper to create the form, and that's what it looks, that's why it looks this way. Like at least make it believable, you know, like show and don't tell. That's the thing that bothers me here. So my goal is not to be harsh. My goal is just to say, if you're going to show something, right, show us the how, right? Don't tell us the thing. Show us like how you got to this point. That's definitely more interesting than whatever is shown here.